Good afternoon. My name is Amy Cowley, and the dissertation research that I chose to look at relates to the Scottish Picts and their relationship to other areas inside of ancient Scotland and their relationships to other groups of people. So the first piece of research, or the first dissertation that I pulled, was the Norse in Orkney, an archaeological and social anthropological study of the Norse settlement process and the relationship between the Norse and the Picts. And this was written by Jessica Backlund. The second I chose was English Medieval Kings and Queens in Religious Partnerships, Choices, Resources, and Connections by Jalinda Roof. The first dissertation, the sources it pulls from are various texts from anthropological digs, as well as historical information on Scottish Pictish settlements, Viking settlements, and other cultures that developed and kept hoards. So we're going to examine the hoards to see what the relationship was between the Picts and the Vikings and whether it was contentious or not. The methodology, or the basis of the methodology, are models and thoughts taken from social cultural anthropology, and the researcher in this case used archaeological material, right, to examine the remains and the hoards. The content focused on the gift exchange and finding evidence of it in the different cultures, including outside cultures like cultures in New Guinea, North America tribes, and the intent was to compare them to show economic bases of gift giving, like how this grew an economy. The presence of Pictish artifacts in Norse or Viking settlements was the starting point for this dissertation, and the conclusion was that by looking at social anthropology and archaeology, they made it possible to reconstruct the values of the Viking Age. And looking at the evidence from name studies and place studies, it was clear that objects that were found in the Norse layers of the hoard were involved Pictish institutions, and they were given in friendship and not war. The second dissertation, English Medieval Kings and Queens, the idea behind researching this was to look at after the fall of Rome. We know that Germanic tribes invaded much of what we now know as England and Scotland and so on. And so people formed these groups for survival, protection, procreation, and we know that the Picts and the Irish attacked, as well as several other Germanic tribes. And the idea is that there were two things that stopped these invasions, which were the ruling kingdoms, or the people in charge, the rulers, and the church itself, the Christian church. So by using sources like the ecclesiastical history of the English people, the Bible, the Regulus Concordia, this researcher looks into how that power surfaced at the time to bring people under control, to bring the invasions to a stop. And they determined in their conclusions that deep resources, religious patronage, and everything helped to combine the two together to allow for the emergence of what we now know as medieval Europe.